Hey, live, and this is the first time I'm able to do it on Facebook because I'm half stupid and can't figure it out. Today I did. And now I have the latency. It's making me nuts. So I'm going to take my headphones off while I do it because it will make me nuts. So these are my nice headphones. I'm taking them off, otherwise I'll go nuts. So today I'm going to do a little reading from Zeburbia, the original book by Jake Bible. Jake and I have done a ton of books together. I don't know if you can hear this. Maybe you can. Maybe I should unplug this thing so you can't hear it. Or better yet, turn it down. Maybe I'll drop it down here. That's better. All right. Technical glitches aside, here we go. I started reading this, and it's on YouTube, my YouTube channel. I started reading this a couple weeks ago, and I try to intersperse weeks by weeks. And this is chapter 1. So I'm going to go from where I left the last episode. There's some salty language in this, a few F words and worse. And the voices are as best as I can recall them, but just bear with me. This is not being recorded. This book's been out for months. Years, actually. So last we left, Jake lives in Whispering Pines. Zombies have taken over the world. This is a place in Asheville, North Carolina. They're safe in their little compound. And he's getting dressed. He's introduced himself to you. And he tends to be an asshole, but that's Jake. Jake's writing. This is Jace Sanford. Right? Here we go. He's got a text. Bums down by the gate, the text reads. You coming? You know Brenda is going to want you there. I'm sure she'll pick apart any weaknesses she sees in the gate. Who's shooting? I text back. The bums. His reply comes quickly. Where the fuck are you, Hoss? Get your butt down here. Brenda is already trying to redesign the entire gate structure. Jesus! John is also a minister, which cracks me up when he texts. He saves all his cursing for texts. Oh, that would have been a mistake. He saves all his cursing for texts to me. No one has a clue otherwise. On my way, I text back. Bums, I say to Stella. I need to bike down, ASAP. Brenda? Yep, Brenda. I nod as I grab my socks and hurry to the garage. I throw on my sturdy, steel-toed work boots and snag my mountain bike. I barely wave at the inquiring faces of my neighbors as I speed by, focusing on the twists and turns, dips and rises of the neighborhood. That's making me nuts. Can you hear that? Because I can. And I can clarify that in just a second here. By doing... Give me 1 second to figure it out. If I can. There it is. Sorry for the interruption. I figured it out. This isn't going to go long, maybe 10 minutes, but that latency through the Facebook Live and my broadcasting thing was making me nuts. Imagine speaking and then hearing it 5 seconds later. Plus, I didn't want you guys to hear it because this microphone picks up everything. Where were we? I raced down the last hill towards the gate that is set at the entrance to Whispering Pines, blocking all access to the neighborhood from the former State Road Highway 251. I say former because there really isn't a state anymore, and I'm pretty sure the DOT has lost its jurisdiction during the apocalypse. Or maybe not. They could be planning to repaint the yellow lines next week for all we know. There you are, Hoss, John says as I brake to a stop by him. Brenda thinks we need more spikes on the outside because spikes are apparently a deterrent to starving bums. Jesus, I mutter. Hey, Lord's name and all that. John smiles. Smartass. I smile as I walk past him to the watchtower sitting to the side of the 50-foot gate. I'm sorry for your situation, folks, Brenda says, trying to whisper and shout at the same time, which comes out as some grotesque croak. But Whispering Pines is a gated community, and we are not taking new residents at this time. You will need to move along, please. Again, I'm sorry. Whoever she's talking to replies with a pistol shot. Splinters of wood explode from the post next to Brenda's face. Where's Stewart? Brenda hisses. These bums need to be dealt with. Bums are what we call the stragglers that come knocking on our quite impressive, if I do say so myself, gate doors. Survivors that have somehow managed to stay alive while avoiding disease and the not-so-friendly groups of people out there. We've been seeing less and less over the months, but they do show up. It isn't hard for them to spot a beacon of living in the darkness of the world around them. James, don't call me Jimmy, Stewart, is suddenly at my elbow, looking up at the watchtower with his usual pissed off and slightly surprised that everyone else isn't as pissed off as he is. 5 feet and 8 inches, late 50s, crew cut, wiry and strong. Stewart is a retired Marine gunnery sergeant. Head of defense, not to be confused with head of security, God forbid. He sees anyone without the proper training and understanding of military tactics as a pain in his well-trained and tactical ass. Pretty much that means all of us. Gates are holding, Stewart says without looking at me. What's she bitching about then? Stewart likes to end questions in then sometimes. It's a strange affectation, but since he can kick the living shit out of me with his perfectly trimmed mustache, I don't question it. Bums, I say. Bums, John echoes. Padre, Stewart nods to John. Yes, my son? John smiles. Stewart doesn't smile back. Right. Hey. Sometimes as I read, my breaths get a little goofy. Again, this is not being recorded for anything but Facebook follies, but I'll stop. I'll catch myself and fix it. And I usually go a little slower. I try to when I read these for actual audio production for an audiobook. Back to the book. Stewart sighs with amazing discipline and skill and climbs the ladder into the watchtower. We follow. Once up there, he takes a keyring from his belt and unlocks the steel locker bolted to the watchtower floor. How many, then? Stewart asks, as his hand hovers over the open locker. 8, a mousy man answers, looking from Brenda to Stewart, to me, to John, and back to Stewart. 3 adults and 5 kids. Look, they've been running nonstop. Don't think much of them until they started shouted. Didn't think much of them until they started shooting. Let us in, a dry voice cries from below. Please. Kids? Stewart asks, his eyes finding Brenda as he pulls an AR-15 and magazine from the locker. He slaps the magazine home and stares. Brenda Kelly is our HOA board chairperson. Short, fat, ugly as sin, she took control of Whispering Pines in the first few days of the apocalypse, giving some semblance of order in a world that went from normal to, holy shit, I'm going to get my face eaten, in less than 24 hours. Despite her lack of everything that makes a human being decent, she does make one damn good administrator. Once you get past that lack of human decency part, that's a tough one to get past, believe me. We don't have room or resources, Brenda states, her whisper like the hiss of a hidden viper. You know that, Stewart. Resolution 856 was very clear on the subject of no new residents allowed. You were there for the vote, Stewart. Do I have to get... Shut up, Stewart says. I know the resolution. I just want to be clear before I do my job. There are 2 sentries posted to the watchtower at all times, but they defer to Stewart when it comes to discretionary violence. Stewart is very clear on this point. No one kills the living except him, unless they are defending themselves. I have wondered more than a few times how many people Stewart has killed in his years as a Marine. I've personally witnessed him kill no less than 14 souls since the apocalypse started. I can't even count how many Z's he's killed. On that subject, let me explain that the Z's we are talking about are your classic shuffling, shoot-the-brain zombies. The freshly turned ones have some more mobility than the veteran undead, but really can only break out into a half-run at best. Kind of like a power-walking grandma at the mall. They can be outrun. But, as always, it's about numbers. And the Z's outnumber our asses by an easy 20-1. Okay, I'm being delusional. They outnumber us by 50-1. I just hate admitting that. What? Fine. 100, 200-1. Sheesh. Hello, folks, Stewart says as he peers over the watchtower. I am sorry to be rude, but it has been decided that we cannot take on more residents. I'm going to ask you to leave. Please comply. Non-compliance is not an option. "Fuck you!" a man shouts. "Let us in, old man. We have kids here. We're fucking starving. Stop being assholes." Stewart sighs and puts the rifle to his shoulder. "I am not going to warn you again, sir. I am sorry, but you have to leave now. All that noise you were making is bringing disease your way. We try to avoid that." I risk a look and see that Stewart is right, as all of us had expected. From both ways of Highway 251, the undead are shambling their way towards the small group of bums. If Stewart doesn't start taking the people out, then the Z's are going to. None look too fresh, which means about 3 to 5 minutes at a shambling rate. 10 minutes before they're on the bums. "Is that our old mailman down there with the Z's?" John asks, peeking over with me. "Guess I won't have to get him a Christmas present this year." "For a man of God, you are a serious callous bastard," I whisper to him. He just shrugs. "Shut the fuck up," Stewart grumbles. "Sorry," I say. John just shrugs again. A gunshot goes off, and we all, except for Stewart, hit the floor of the watchtower. I count 3 shots as Stewart returns fire. John and I glance up at him and see he is looking over his shoulder at Brenda. She nods. 5 more shots. "Those were the kids," John says as he gets up and walks to the ladder. "Children." He doesn't make eye contact with anyone as he descends and grabs his own bike, pedaling off up the hill, back to his house. "Brenda," I say, looking directly at her. "Really?" "How will we feed them?" she asks. "This has already been decided." "Gonna need to clear the road," Stewart says, as he hands the rifle to one of the sentries. "Clean that and store it. I'll be back to check to make sure it's properly cleaned. 1 speck of dirt, and you're outside the gate." The sentry nods, his hands shaking as he takes the rifle. Stewart looks to me as he takes his phone from his pocket and starts to send the text for his defensive crew. "You in for some Z killing?" "I guess," I shrug. "I'm already down here." Back home, I have... Start again. Back home, I have a great baseball bat that I've stuck spikes through and wrapped in duct tape. I call it the Silver Slugger. Stupid name, I know. But I left that in my hurry to the gate, so once down on the ground, I arm myself with a crowbar taken from one of the huge racks of melee weapons that line each side of the gate. Stewart and I wait only a minute before his defensive crew is there, armed with their own various weapons of different sizes and shapes, styles. Axes, steel pipes, more crowbars, sharpened to a point baseball bats, even a sharpened cricket bat, and a couple of hockey sticks. The crew keeps changing. Do it again. The crew keeps changing, but their objective never does. Keep the road and perimeter clear of Z's so they cannot overwhelm Whispering Pines. It's a full-time job. We all silently nod to each other and wait for Stewart's signal. The man stands by the gate and listens, then, almost imperceptibly, nods. The gate is unlatched, unlocked, unbarred, and unbraced, and the right door is shoved open just enough so we can slip through. As soon as we are out, it closes behind us and will not be opened until we are done clearing the road and have checked for bites. A bite is death, and the bitten, and possibly for the entire neighborhood. Can't have that. I count at least 30 Z's coming at us. Most heard the gate open. A part of the engineering I am still working on. The damn thing is so heavy it's near impossible to keep the hinges quiet. And are shambling their way at us. Stewart points with 4 fingers at the 4 members of his crew to the left, and they head left, straight at the Z's. He points 4 fingers at the 4 members to his right, and they move out. Just him and me are going to the Z's directly in front of us. I get in close to the first one, so I can shove my crowbar through its eye and into its brain. I place a foot against the Z's chest and push, freeing the crowbar and sending the now really dead zombie into the ground behind it, tangling them up and oozing heads and limbs. I screwed that up completely. I place a foot against the zombie's chest and push, freeing the crowbar and sending the now really dead zombie into the group behind it, tangling them up in oozing undead limbs. Stuart is right with me, using the same move, since he's the one that taught it to me. Stuart's philosophy on killing Z's is to go through the eye whenever you can. It's an easy and direct route to the brain. If we were using bullets, it would be where we'd aim. So if you have a weapon that can affect the same result, then use it. Plus, cracking skulls not only will tire you out as you raise your arms over your head again and again, but it makes noise. I think we've already covered. The noise is bad. Stab, stab, stab we go, making our way through the throngs of Z's. But as is the zombie way, more keep coming from both directions. Luckily, directly in front of us, about 20 yards away, is the bank of the French Broad River. We don't have to worry about more Z's coming from that way, and Whispering Pines is behind us, so we're good there. That just means we watch our left and right. Stuart splits left, I split right. More stabby-stabby. A half an hour into the slaughter, Stuart raises a fist over his head and whistles quietly. The gate opens again, and a new wave of Z-killers comes out as our crew retreats up against the gate. We check each other out, making sure we have no bites, and then we are let back inside Whispering Pines as the second crew starts its shift of stabbing. I collapse on a patch of grass by the watchtower as Stuart takes a seat next to me. He hands me a canteen and I take a couple of long drinks. "Thanks," I say, handing it back. Stuart just nods, and we sit quietly as a third crew assembles and waits for their turn. The gate opens. They stream out. A few minutes go by, and the second crew comes in, dripping with sweat and gore. Stuart does a quick count and nods as he sees the whole crew there. Then a scream goes up. "Shit," Stuart says, and all eyes fall on him. "Sorry, folks. No more rest. Time to go out in full force." We all know what that scream is. Someone got careless, or were surprised and ended up taking some Z teeth to their flesh. We all wear long sleeves, and many have leather on, but even still, a hungry Z is a formidable biter. Their jaw strength seems to increase once they rise from the dead, which makes no physiological sense, but is still a reality in this surreal world. We all pour from the gate and get to work. We have to be fast because a scream and the smell of fresh blood can carry on the wind for a mile. Did I mention that a Z's hearing and sense of smell increase too? Yeah, they do. It's scary as shit. So the key is to wipe out the Z's and get the unfortunate wounded taken care of before we end up with a mob, or a horde, or the dreaded stampede, a shambling stampede, given, herd of Z's at our gate. Someone drags the wounded woman inside the gate while crews 1, 2, and 3 move fast through the Z's left. That sounded weird, didn't it? Move fast through the Z's left. 10 minutes and we're done, leaving the rotten corpses to the ever-efficient Edna Storm and her Z cleanup crews. Inside and stripped down. See, that happens too. "Inside and stripped down," Stuart orders, and we all follow as we catch our breaths and begin to undress once inside the safety of the gate. "Double and triple checks, people." We go through the motions of inspecting each other's naked bodies. No modesty is allowed in the apocalypse. You have to be cleared by 3 people before you get the okay to grab your clothes and make your way home. It's a noble walk of shame, but still pretty shameful, as your nether regions are on full display for the neighborhood to see. "Looking good, Dad," Charlie says, as he comes jogging up to me. "You really should work on your ass tan. No one wants to see those white buns." "Thanks, bud," I smile. "Way to make your old man feel good about himself." Charlie leans in. "Mom's pissed. Just a heads up. She didn't think you were going outside the gate." The heads up redeems the previous comment, I say. We are square. "We can never be square as long as you use the word square," Charlie says, and sprints off towards our house a couple blocks away. I look and see Greta, laughing and pointing at me. Nice kids I have. My wife, however, is not laughing. She is pointing. pointing daggers at me with her eyes. I get home, toss the soiled clothes in the decon hamper, unless they are really soiled, then it's incinerator time, and grab a shower. Stella is waiting for me when I step from the shower stall. "Hey, hon," I grin, which instantly slips from my face as I see the look on hers. "We've talked about this," she says. "I know, but I had no choice," I reply. "The amount of Z's coming had to be handled. Plus what?" "Plus I needed to blow off some steam," I say quietly. "Stuart took out 8 bums. 5 were children." Stella's hand goes to her mouth and her eyes tear up. "Children?" she chokes. "He did that on his own?" I shake my head. "Who gave the order?" she asks, when she doesn't need to. Her eyes narrow, and her face goes red with fury. "That woman! That crazy bitch! One day, Jace, I'm going to give her what she deserves. I promise you that." I know, I say. "She's evil." Kept throwing the last resolution in Stuart's face. "He didn't have to kill them," Stella nearly shouts, then quiets down, not wanting our kids to hear. "He could have stood up to her." He could have, but he didn't. Stuart is a good soldier. He follows the orders of the person in charge. Like it or not, Brenda is in charge, at least until the next election of HOA board members. "Which is months away," Stella growls. "Let it go," I say. "It'll just eat you up. I'm compartmentalizing today in that little black hole in the back of my brain. I'm not going to think about it again until I'm 70 and senile." Even though I know it's bullshit. Well, even I know this is bullshit, but it's one of the many lies I tell myself to get through each day. "How was your day, dear?" I grin, as I towel off and get dressed. "Learn them children's good?" Stella, having been a school teacher for 15 years pre-Z, has the honor of teaching all 18 of the school-aged kids in the neighborhood. She has the dishonor of teaching them in 2 rooms that we borrow from the Church of Jesus of the Light, CJL. Yep, there's a church in our fair neighborhood. But, and this is a huge but, it is not part of Whispering Pines. The first developer for the subdivision actually purchased all the land around the church for a decent price, promising to give right-of-way to the church in perpetuity. Then the developer went bankrupt. The developer that built all the houses and truly made Whispering Pines got the land for a steal, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't get rid of the CGL. Oh, CJL. That wouldn't have been so bad if the CJL wasn't run by an ancient preacher that honestly believed we were all being punished by our sins, for our sins by God. And of course, the Z's were the righteous punishment. He was keen on pointing this out to everyone within earshot at least 50 times a day. Poor Stella had to deal with him all day long. She kept him away from the kids, but it was as much work as teaching was. "I punched Preacher Carey," Stella says. "Shit, you did?" "No, of course not," she frowns. "But it did come close. I had his ass backed up against a wall, and if your son hadn't intervened, I think I would have done worse than punch him." "And why did you have his ass backed up against a wall?" "Because he stuck his head into the younger kid's room and said, and I'm quoting verbatim, that each of them were going to hell for what their parents were doing at the gate. Good luck burning in the pits, you miserable bastards." He said that to kids as young as 5, Jace. The man is evil. "A lot of people are evil in your book," I say. "You may need a new description." "There's a lot of evil around these days," she glares. "Or haven't you noticed?" "I have," I say. "Dad," Charlie calls from downstairs. "Someone's at the door for you." "Someone?" I ask. He knows everyone in the whole neighborhood. He also knows not to yell. "Be nice," Stella says. "He was my hero today." "I'll be nice," I reply as I hurry downstairs. "Don't worry." I am hardly just someone. Oop, messed that up. You know what? I think that's a good place to stop. I'm going to mark it. Well, I guess I can't. I'll mark it later. All right, I'm done. I hope folks enjoyed this. I got a few views. It's a start. Usually I do it YouTube live sometimes, or I just make one of these videos not live and then do it on Facebook, on YouTube. I keep saying Facebook. This one I'll probably have a copy of, and I will throw it onto the YouTube later for the youngins to look at. So if you watched it, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you laughed at me, because I don't care. I do this for fun, and I do this to show the face behind the mic. If anyone wants to see the fat pumpkin face of a half Colombian guy in his 40s in Virginia. Have a good Labor Day weekend. That's right, it's Labor Day. It's the weekend. It's Saturday. It's raining. And why not be in the hot box? Remember, find me on YouTube. Audible.com has all the books I've done. I'm on Facebook. I have a website, www.abwvoiceovers.com. And from there, you can enter the portal into my little universe. Thanks, folks. Have a good weekend. Have a good day.